Hi, you're very welcome to this video. My name is James O'Halloran and I work as a business coach here in Bristol. I work with founders and entrepreneurs. I mainly work in person, but I also work online, and I also help people who are navigating career change or want to be. I help when people are feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or in need of a new strategic direction. This video is about stress. Stress can have a big part of all of our lives at times. So it makes sense to me to be able to find ways of reducing it and quickly. So this video is a practical guide as to how to reduce stress. Recently I went through a phase where I was dealing with quite a lot in my personal life, and I noticed that I was getting hungry a lot, and at one point I even woke up in the middle of the night about 2 a.m. and I was feeling hungry, which didn't really make sense because I'd had a meal not long before I went to bed, and it was quite a protein rich meal, which is good to eat before bed if you're inclined to have high cortisol. So I was kind of perplexed about this, and I started doing a bit of research and looking at the most recent research and information about how why is this happening and how to reduce the amount of cortisol. And I'm going to share with you what I discovered, which I find really interesting, and it's been super helpful. So first of all, a bit more information about cortisol. Cortisol spikes whenever your system detects threat. It can be emotional, physical, mental, or even imagined. The common triggers are unpredictability or overwhelm, for example, too many demands, unfinished tasks looping in the background, relationship stress. Another one is blood sugar dips, long gaps without eating, too much sugar, then a crash, caffeine on an empty stomach. And the reason is the body spikes cortisol to get glucose back up. So it's helpful, for me anyway, it's helpful to understand cognitively what's actually going on so I can remember. Another reason for cortisol to spike is because of poor or disrupted sleep. That's definitely one that I struggle with. This causes cortisol to surge early and can stay elevated. Chronic nervous system activation is another reason why cortisol can spike. So even if you feel calm, parts of you may be scanning for threat. There's three more. Inflammation or pain. That's self-explanatory. Inflammation raises baseline cortisol to stabilize the system. Emotional suppression, holding things down, anger, fear, shame, keeps the system braced, which keeps cortisol high. Over-exercise or intense exercise late in the day. Short term it's good, but can keep cortisol elevated in your system if your system is already stressed. Okay, so that's the kind of trigger and onset of when and why we might have cortisol, a high spike of cortisol in our system. But now to the more interesting part of what can we do about it. Some of these I just find strange, but I thought if I actually act them out, it might be helpful for you to remember what to do when you are experiencing a very stressful moment in your life. The first one is humming. This has been proven to stimulate the vagus nerve and enables our system through the vibration to feel it's safe. And what they encourage is not to force it or not to kind of deliver or drive your humming, but just to kind of encourage a low kind of baritone level of humming in your system. So I will do it just so you can remember. I can even go lower. And I find putting my hand here kind of increases the proprioception and helps me feel that vibration and kind of attune to that and support my system that's what's happening. I've also found that I try and kind of multitask. So I'm running around the house, busy making food or whatever it is, and I'm also humming to try and reduce cortisol. I think really sit down for a few minutes when you're going to do these exercises, or just stop for a while and actually really give your full attention to them. The next one is heel drops. So this is a little bit like if you ever watch like a territorial war from two ducks on a pond. After they've kind of tiffed, they'll go off and they'll flap their wings. So as we know, animals, all of the animals in the animal kingdom, apart from humans these days, are very good at discharging these stressful hormones from their body, and they usually stamp their feet or flap their wings or beat it off somehow. So we don't tend to do this, but we can, and there's no reason why we can't. So the thing to do is very simple, heel drops. So you just need to raise your heel and then allow yourself to drop again. Just like that. So this might be tricky if you're lying in bed, but it's worth getting up to do if you're feeling really wired. And the reason that this works is because this rhythm of doing it regularly supports your system to understand that you're feeling safe again. Because if you're actually in a fight or a threatening situation, you wouldn't be in a rhythmical place. So this rhythm is what supports reducing cortisol. But not only that, it actually pumps the lymph nodes that are at the back of the knee, and it increases circulation and does a whole load of other things. But yeah, so this is really, really helpful way of reducing cortisol, just to kind of bounce on the spot just by lifting and dropping your heels. The next one is really great, and this is a brilliant one to do in bed if you're kind of awake, or your cortisol is spiked and you can't get back asleep, or your mind is just like spinning around worrying, or like really what I find when cortisol is high is that it just latches onto something and just keeps on looping it. It could even be a song. Yeah, that seems to be what happens. So it's a breathing technique, and it's very simple. It's you inhale for 4 and you breathe out for 8. I like to do this in and out through my nose. That just helps me relax. And it's recommended to breathe in and out of your nose anyway, for lots of reasons, which maybe I'll cover in another video. So I'll just demonstrate it. So hopefully you saw that I was breathing in for 4 and out for twice that, breathing out for 8. And if you can even extend the breathing out. That's where the magic is done. Yeah, and I think they recommend even just a few rounds of that. Even doing it once, twice, or maybe 3 times is going to benefit you. I really find that one helps me. The next one is warmth. And when I read this, it really made sense for why what I naturally do, which is I really like having long hot showers. And these days, a lot of us are going to saunas and regulating in that way. So this might be part of the reason why we're just naturally desiring that. So warmth, just, could be a hot water bottle, or just wrapping yourself up really warm and getting into a bath, and potentially having a bath before bed is a good way of managing cortisol. Another one is the chewing reflex, which actually tricks your mind into thinking that you're calm enough to be eating. So even just chewing, just moving your mouth. I'm demonstrating just so you can try and remember. And yeah, there's a couple more. So having your hand on your sternum can just, again, like kind of give you a sense of proprioception, particularly when you're doing some of these exercises. But even just, I can feel that, and it just kind of, can't quite describe it, but it does have this sense of I'm here, I'm safe, I'm okay. And then like more kind of planned approach to reducing cortisol is to ensure that you're eating plenty of protein, especially when you wake up in the morning and within the first hour, and also before you go to bed. Carbs and sugars and even fruit to some extent can really spike cortisol. So having protein before you go to bed and within the first hour of you waking is really great. And now you can get like high protein yogurts, and anyway, you've probably seen in the shops there's a lot of products really highlighting the fact that they contain a lot of protein. Of course, eating nuts and almond butter and these sorts of things are really great too for snacks as a replacement for chocolate or something else. So yeah, I hope this video is helpful, and if you have any comments or any feedback, I'd love to hear it. And otherwise, have a great cortisol reduced day. Catch you soon.